Building their monumental arches was a huge effort. But they're only the tip of the iceberg. Most of Rome's aqueducts are hidden from sight.
11 aqueducts brought water into Rome. Only 10% of all the aqueducts that we have is on arches. All the rest is underground.
Inge Vostink is part of a team mapping the longest of all Roman aqueducts, the Aqua Marcia. They are trying to find out its route from these hills to the city.
This tunnel was only discovered in the 1980s. We mapped the aqueduct to see in what direction it runs, and also to check if maybe in the next valley, if we find other remains there, if they can be connected to this same aqueduct.
Inge's team must scramble 30 feet down a narrow shaft to get to the aqueduct. The Romans buried their water supply deep underground for a good reason.
When they built the first aqueducts, so in the 4th and the 3rd centuries BC, Rome was still not completely all-powerful in this area. And if the aqueducts were too visible, they would be an easy target. It was easy for enemies to go through the aqueducts, to destroy them and stop the water flow.
For the very first time, Inge descends into this section of the aqueduct.
It's a very nice smell. Well, a bit moldy.
She soon discovers a clue to how the Romans built it.
This is an interesting point here in the aqueduct because you can clearly see that this is where two teams that were digging met. Here, the channel is more narrow than where I'm standing here. So the team that came from my direction here was working a little bit harder. They made their channel wider and higher, and that's something you can clearly see here. Now it widens up here.
The incline of the tunnel is so shallow that Inge's team needs laser tools to measure the slope.
The Roman engineers always made sure that the gradient was continuous, not going down towards Rome, and they managed to do that at a stretch of only 100 meters. The channel went down maybe only something like 20, 30 centimeters. It is quite amazing to realize that this aqueduct brought, on average, more than 2,000 liters per second of water into Rome.